What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. My name is Hanako, and I want to thank you guys for joining us again. Today's show, we're going to be discussing Season 2, Episode 2 of The Boys. The episode title is Proper Planning and Preparation. And today I am joined by the guys, Mike and Ant. What's up, guys?
What's up?
What's up? Hello, hello.
And I'll wait again.
Where should we begin? Well, first of all, the episode title, Proper Planning and Preparation. I think we talked a lot about this with episode 1 about, just how Butcher and the guys, their different leadership qualities and how the way they prep for the quote-unquote missions they're going on is kind of different. And so we see a lot of that going on in the second episode. I don't even know where I want to start. You guys have any particular place you want to start?
I guess we can start with the interactions between A-Train and Starlight. So that's a pretty pertinent thing that's going through this episode, is her being shocked by him coming back, and then him trying to blackmail her, and the whole interaction between them, where it's like, I got something on you. Well, I got something on you. You don't have anything on me. I have something on you. And it's like, it's a whole back and forth, which kind of sets up everything that's getting ready to come up. So
yeah, their whole exchange in this episode was like really, really awkward. It's like, well, like you said, one, she's surprised that he's out of his coma or whatever it was that he was in, and he just shows up at the press conference that they're doing. But just the way that they talk to each other is kind of like they're tiptoeing around each other, trying to figure out she's trying to figure out what he remembers from their last exchange from season 1, and he's trying to fill her out, as far as what's going on with her. Like, she's on this tour right now, this press junket for VOT. They're doing a, what is it they're calling it? Girls Get It Done. Girls Get It Done. So they've got Queen Maeve and Starlight and Stormfront, the new person. They've got them on this press tour, and he just automatically he just shows up like really in a weird way. Like, immediately from the time he gets there, it's really, really awkward. First of all, you're at a quote-unquote girls press junket, and you just show up, and then there's this weird exchange, and
Well, my first thought, unfortunately, when he showed up, was she should have let him die. Like, why did you let him live? But I know that's not in her character to do that at
right.
the time. But that was my first thought. Like, why did Hughie just tell her, just let him die? Just don't. But
I don't think she would have done it. I mean, it was just...
She couldn't do it. That's not in her character.
Yeah, I think that kind of touches back to what we were talking about on the previous episode with, the characters from the 7, and how, you got Homelander, who is like the worst of the worst, and then you kind of have it trickle down. And she's the newest one in the group, and she's also the least corrupted so far. I do see that, we do see a little bit of her. I don't even want to say her personality changing, but we do see where she's starting to realize that she's going to have to be out of character a little bit if she wants to protect herself. And A-Train right now is representing a very real threat for her. Just in the fact that now he knows that she has a vial of Compound V, doesn't know why she has it, but I'm sure he suspects it's not for good. The fact that she was, involved with someone who is considered the enemy, and she was given orders to kill him and she didn't. So yeah, he's kind of using that to blackmail her, and she turns around and kind of threatens him with blackmail because of his murder of Popclaw, his ex-girlfriend, whatever she was to him. That whole exchange is like really weird, but it's kind of I guess setting up what may happen with the Seven. Like, we see the Seven is kind of,
it's falling apart.
It's falling apart very slowly right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's kind of, I guess, you know, giving us a peek at what's about to happen with this group. You know.
Now, even though I was thinking that, I actually kind of like his character, A-Train.
Mm-hmm.
Because you think about it, he did kill Hughie's girlfriend, but he was high on Compound V.
Right.
So he wasn't necessarily himself. And I think when he killed Popclaw, wasn't he still sort of addicted to it?
He was, but
he was just kind of out of his mind. I mean, the thing about it is, like Michael said in the last one, they're like the sports stars that we have. They're like the pro athletes that make the millions of dollars. He has kind of gotten out of hand, or had gotten out of hand up until his, you know, near-death experience.
Right, and it's like, and especially him, because no one else in the Seven comes from a background like his. Like, he literally started from the bottom and came up. So
yeah, he had nothing. He came from nothing.
Yeah.
Right, and he's the one that's probably the most afraid of losing it. Like, he doesn't want to go back where he came from, and he'll probably do whatever is necessary to stay. Which is why he's the one that was running the Compound V across the world, halfway across the world and back, and ended up killing Hughie's fiance. And it's like that whole thing is paramount to, is really why he's in this, why people are in the situations that they are in right now, is because deep down he doesn't want to go back to being broke. So he's willing to do whatever it is. Homelander says, "Here, run this all the way over there and come back."
Yeah,
like, okay, fine, I'll do whatever you say.
Yeah, he was taking the Compound V because his position was threatened by other speedsters.
Yeah,
he was taking it to get faster.
Yeah, but I guess it's kind of like, you know, we talking about him, and we talked about the Deep, how their current personality flaws, or whatever the case is, it's all due to some other issues that they have. With the Deep, it was basically a self-hate issue, you know, and we see a little bit more of that in a hilarious way in this episode. But, you know, he has self-hate issues, and that caused him, you know, in order to keep from feeling rejected or feeling humiliated, you know, he kind of preempted himself and used his insecurities to cause those feelings in women. And with A-Train, you know, he's fearing his loss of speed, and now he's gotten himself addicted to this Compound V, which he already has in his system, apparently. And I guess prior to that, he did not know, because they're just now getting to that this is what happens with the Supes, that they were all given Compound V at birth. And you know, he probably didn't know it, but having so much of it in his system caused him to have all of these different reactions, you know, with his anger and his aggression, which caused you know, the death of Popclaw, and his, you know, not being able to control his speed, and I guess where he's going and how he's controlling it, and that kind of contributed to Robin's death. But it's like, are we still supposed to feel sorry for them because they're not completely in control of their actions, and that's what's causing them to be such assholes? Or, you know, is this just the writer's way of trying to say, you know, trying to justify what they're doing, you know, to, I guess, make them more sympathetic characters?
Well, if you look at A-Train last season, a lot of his, I mean, other than being, you know, let's pop Cristal and party guy, he really was trying to do good. And he was also really about, you know, selling his merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at his relationship to his brother seemed to kind of keep him sort of grounded. it was the Compound V that started messing with him and sort of changing his, because that's what drugs do. They change what your motivation is.
Right.
And his motivation changed to wanting to keep the drug. And if he doesn't keep his position on the 7, he won't be able to keep getting the drug. And he won't be able to sell the merchandise and live the lifestyle he wants to live. So all of that is tied up into what the Compound V kind of did to him, because it also ruined his relationships.
But would the Compound V like alter his personality so much that, you know, when he was confronted with what happened to Robin, it's almost like it didn't even faze him. You know, he basically had it was an accident and that was pretty much it. Like, he didn't feel like he needed to apologize for it. He didn't feel like he needed to make amends for it. If I'm not mistaken, when he was told that he had to meet Hughie and, you know, I guess give this apology, he actually was pissed off about it. So...
Well, we're not sure. Well, we know when we meet him, he had already been on Compound V at that point.
Right.
So we don't know, had it changed his personality to become that indifferent, but we do know that drugs in regular people will have that effect on people. It will change their personality and it will change their perspective on things. So it's possible that his perspective completely changed. You know, we really don't know what he was like beforehand, but after meeting his brother and seeing their interaction, his brother trying to, you know, make him, I guess, stop. I have to go back and watch that. But you would think that his brother was keeping him sort of grounded in reality. But the Compound V is going to take that away, like in the other drug.
Plus, it's the combination of... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Plus, it's a combination of the effects of the drug and the effects of his fame. It's like he doesn't want to lose either one of those. And it's like, I mean, fame itself is a very addictive drug. Like, if you do something where people look up to you, it's just as addictive as anything. Like, and you combine that with him taking something that increases that. I mean, that's really a prescription for disaster. Like, in all of them. Like, because all of them have that in them. It's just that he, because of who he is and his background, it affects them in different ways. It's like Homelander is known as since birth. Like, he's been that way, been raised in labs and all that other stuff. And you know, A-Train was raised, you know, poor and came up, and he really likes it. He doesn't want to lose it. So I mean, it's like it's just like a combination of things to me.
I guess. I mean, no, because I'm also thinking about the fact that, like, right now he's not on the Compound V, and I don't see much of a change in his personality, but I guess it can go back to what you guys are saying. Right now, his focus is more so about not losing his fame and not losing his position within the 7, which we already know is kind of threatened at this point. You know, he's been out now for a couple of weeks, you know, in his coma, and things are kind of still going on without him. So, yeah.
Well, we don't, the writers aren't giving us a lot on what is really going on with him, because, you know, he killed Popclaw, so he has that weighing on his conscience. He nearly died. That's weighing on his conscience. He got over he's still trying to get over that addiction, because, you know, that's something he's got to fight every day. That's weighing on him. We don't know what his relationship is like with his brother anymore. That's weighing on him. So he's got a lot of things going on. Yeah, like I said, I kind of like his character. I don't think they give us enough about him, but that could just be, you know, how I am about, you know, black superheroes.
Yeah.
But they don't give us enough about him for him to be a part of the 7. Like, we got a lot more about the Deep in this episode. I guess that's a good segue, because he's
let's dive into that.
A lot of his own issues, and we learn more about his self-hate and what his motivation is behind, or I don't want to say excuse, but his motivation behind how he treats women.
Right.
It has a lot to do with not wanting to really get intimate in that way with women because he doesn't like himself.
Right. Which we found out about in a very weird way.
It's the shrooms.
Right.
I mean, the shrooms just kind of amplified it, but that whole scene of, you know, revealing the gills, because we kind of got a little bit of a look at the gills and the way that he kind of relates with them last season, and it's like now we get to see it full-fledged. First of all, let me say that this woman and this Eagle person, Eagle kind of, he's suspect to me.
Yeah.
Because one, he comes across as way too chipper and way too helpful to someone who is practically a stranger to him. So it's kind of like I'm looking at this whole situation like, okay, there's some other motivation. There's something else going on with this situation as far as them bailing him out of jail, them trying to get him to do all of this self-help stuff. I just want to know.
It's a cult, Hanako. It's a cult.
They don't know that at this point yet.
No, I at the time, even now, you can tell it's a cult.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at Eagle. His eyes are glazed over. He is really chipper. They're giving him all this fresca, which is.
I'm still the fresca thing is still weird to me. Why fresca?
You listen to Eagle talk, and you listen to the therapist. Well, I call her a therapist, but she's not really a therapist. It sounds like a cult, and they are recruiting him into this cult.
Yeah, it does.
When they picked him up from jail, and Diddy didn't remember him, he was like, "Yeah, you remember I did it." He was like, "Well, wait, it's not important. It's not important. That's cult-like behavior because you try to do something, you get mad, and they tell you it's your call."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like that. Like that, I was like, yeah, right there. But it's like, I mean, I'm not even sure how much of a super Eagle is. I mean, it's like, is he like a Green Arrow super? Or is he like a Hawkeye super? Or is he like? I mean, it's kind of weird to see like an Archer, but you see why he's not in the 7. I think I need to go back and look at season 1 to see how. Like how they divide, because the supers are divided into like states, right? Like they're
assigned to different
cities. Yeah.
Make contracts with, if they want, they can make a contract with Vought to have supers come patrol their cities.
Okay, but it'd be interesting to see the level of supers that are like in every city, because you really are only focusing on the 7, and like every now and then you'll see like. I think last season they showed like a couple of other supers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like now it's just Eagle. I'm like, okay. But it'd be interesting to see if they delve into like other supers later. But I'm actually wondering if in the cult they're trying to get like their own kind of Super 7 together.
See, like, that's what I'm wondering. Like, and is it that they are targeting the ones that are, I guess, being rejected, or the ones that are not as, I will say, not as important? Because even with Stormfront, with her introduction last episode, when she approaches Homelander and Queen Maeve has at least heard of her. And, you know, she says, oh, yeah, out of, I can't remember what city she said, Portland, I think. So it's kind of interesting to see that the ones who are considered the top tier, the 7, you know, how they interact with the other supers that they come in contact with, and whether or not that plays into how they are approached by this particular cult. Because, you know, even I can't even say that because that's not part that hasn't come up yet.
Well, I think you're right, because didn't Eagle say was he stopping a bank robbery? Yeah. And he was using his arrows and
he ran out.
He ran out.
Yeah, and some people died.
And some people died, right. And he hit rock bottom, and I guess this cult brought him back.
Okay.
And that's what he's trying to do for the Deep, trying to bring it back.
Yeah,
So it would be. I mean, it's obvious that if you have I keep using the word cult, but if you have an organization whose goal is to help supers who have fallen or who have gone on hard times, it's easy to recruit them when they are at the rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can brainwash them and build them back up, and that's what they're doing with the Deep. That's what it seems like.
Because if they go to hit rock bottom, that means they basically lost everything. And the one thing that they're going to want to do is get that back, because, like I said, he brought him back to it, but it's like the success is like a drug. So it's just like going cold turkey off being famous, like going cold turkey off being known. So you're like, I got to get that back.
And we know that there are other companies and groups that have supers, because remember, Homelander threatened to leave and go with someone else. So it's possible it could be a company that is trying to, be a competitor to Vought.
Yeah, and I'm wondering also if, I know A-Train kind of stopped at it I'm wondering if A-Train is next. Like, I wonder if there's going to be a bottom for him where that could leave him there, and then next thing you know, that he's reunited with him.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. But getting back to the Deep. Getting back to this shrooms trip. Okay, so, we see he basically has a moment where his gills start talking to him. And it was so weird for me because I kept listening to them saying, I know this voice. And it just, it wouldn't click with me until after the episode aired. And then to find out it was Patton Oswalt who was voicing the gills. And then from that point on, I just heard it's almost like I had literally just come off of watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so I'm sitting here listening to the gills and his character's voice from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it was just the weirdest thing. But
like here I'm asking where his language is.
Right. But it's just so the gills basically give us an insight on most of his issues, and as we stated, his issues are basically self-hate. Like, he feels very uber self-conscious about the gills. He feels like they are embarrassing, and he feels like they're ugly. He feels like they make him unattractive, and we get all of this through this pep talk that he's getting from them, and it was just the weirdest exchange. And then the gills start singing "You Are So Beautiful," and it was just like I had to pause.
It was surreal.
Oh my God, it was really weird, and it was uncomfortable. And I guess in a way that's also what the scene is supposed to be, because whenever you confront your inner demons, it's always going to be an uncomfortable conversation, whether you're having an inner monologue with yourself or whether I don't know, you're having a trip. A head trip, and your, the parts of you that you hate are speaking to you. But it was really uncomfortable to watch. But it also gave a lot of insight into his character. But now that we know that this is how he feels about himself, it's like, okay, so what are you going to do now? Like, how does all of this, again, play into this supposed cult's mission or whatever it is that they have planned for him? Like, what are they going to do with that information, and where is it going to go next? Like, right. I'm really confused. Like, why? And I understand he's right now having the most public, I guess you could say, fallout from the Seven, because literally he was cast out or put on hiatus, or however you want to describe it, because Starlight went public with what he did to her. And then, of course, some other things started coming out. So they basically kicked him to the side to kind of give him some space, and to also, distance him from the reputation of the Seven. So
Yeah, that's why they sent him to Ohio.
Yeah,
To a
right.
small town. They were done with him.
Right.
He's toxic to the image of the Seven and
Right.
to Fox. So it doesn't. They could have put him in Miami, any port town, port city, but no, they put him in smack dab in the middle of America,
Right.
where he can't do anything.
Right.
They're literally done with him. Right.
So
That's why he's hanging out at a water park.
right.
He's done. He's
That
literally
poor,
done.
those poor children to have to witness that. That was so. I mean, just everything about his character so far is just, and it's kind of in tune with what he feels about himself. Everything about his character is so uncomfortable, and it's so embarrassing, and it's so like, what is the purpose? Like, what is your purpose here? Why are we still focusing on you? So I'm kind of wondering what this cult is going to use him for. Like, is this, we talked about the the possibility that there was some internal turmoil between, within Vought, someone trying to destroy or undermine the company. Could this cult be part of that?
Well, he is a big fish. He was a member of the Seven.
Right.
Who did they say was it? Marathon Man? Marathon Man had the shortest stint as a member of the Seven. Oh, never mind. That I'm speaking ahead.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, wait, what? Okay.
Never mind. Yeah, that was later. I don't know. It seems like that cult has a plan, but if they get him, then it becomes more attractive to other supers who may have fallen.
Right.
Yeah, because like Michael said, if A-Train falls or if he hits rock bottom, he'd go join his buddy the D.
Right.
Yeah, who knows where that? I mean, I think that like you said, there is definitely a master plan behind whatever they're doing, and it has something to do. I think it has something to do with them going back at the Seven. I can see that. I can see or them like trying to supplant them or supersede them somehow. So I'm sure that's coming 100%.
Okay. All right. I want to move on. Let's talk about Stormfront.
Oh boy.
So she came onto the scene last episode, and we acknowledge that she has a bit of a strong personality. She's a little bit more forceful than the other members of the team. And in this episode, we got to see a little bit more of her personality, and she is a handful. I don't even she's doing the press tour with Starlight and Queen Maeve, and they're doing this whole Girls Get It Done press junket, and you can kind of see that the talking points for the interviews and the repetition of this motto is starting to get to all of them. And then she just she takes it a little bit further and just kind of goes off on this weird rant. I won't even say it's a weird rant, because I get what she's saying. Basically about, it's not about girls being better. It's just the fact that, we can do the same things as guys can do, but she takes it to like a totally different level. And it was just really interesting, because I think we're starting to see a little bit of a different aspect of her personality coming out. And I don't know how that's going to fit in with the Seven. She's very outspoken. She's very, she doesn't have a filter. We're starting to learn, and she's saying some things that's making Ashley very uncomfortable as far as thinking what Vought is going to think about it. I don't know. I kind of like her character, but I'm also kind of very weary of who she is and what she's presenting herself as. So yeah,
I wonder if that's the reason why she was never a member of the Seven. Is because of her personality, that she is so unfiltered and and outspoken. And she's like, she's almost like Homelander. She's hard to control.
Yeah, but I don't know, something about her and her personality. She's hard to control, but in a totally different way from Homelander, because at least with Homelander, we see that there are certain parts there are certain people that can kind of get him under some semblance of control. We know that Madeline Stillwell kind of had him under control for a little bit. We see that Edgar can kind of go toe-to-toe with him and kind of put him in his place a little bit. I don't know if Stormfront is going to be that person. She seems to be a totally different beast.
Yeah, it's a uncontrollable in a different kind of way. Like she doesn't have time, or she doesn't seem to have time or patience for BS.
Right.
You know, like she'll play the game for a little bit, but she will only play it to a certain point. Like she understands how to manipulate the media. She understands how to use that social media strategy. She understands marketing and PR. So she doesn't really have time for that. And that's what she was trying to tell Starlight. She's like, oh my God, there's nobody around. You can be yourself.
Right.
It's okay. You know, and I think that would be the aspect that Vought would have a hard time with trying to do with.
The fact the fact that she's so outspoken and is kind of like not a company person, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I actually like the fact that she's strong-willed. I think that that's one of the things that probably draws a lot of people to her, and it's kind of like it's almost like, oh God, I'm sounding really old and crotchety right now, but it's like the generation, like the internet, like the social media generation, like they gravitate towards people who speak their mind on a consistent basis. And it's like, if you, like, most of the people who are popular, we look at people who are popular on Instagram or Facebook or even like most celebrities. Like, if you speak your mind on Instagram and you put your opinions forward, and your presence is like really major on a social media platform, then you get fans to follow it. It's like you kind of have to put yourself out there and show people who you are in order to get fame and notoriety. So I think that her being a straightforward and like really like, you know, a person who gives a lot of her opinion without caring about what you say about them is really appealing to a lot of people. So that's one of the things that Homelander will probably end up being very envious of, because like he doesn't really know how to deal with social media. Like he doesn't know like how to go anything about it, but she is up to her neck in it, and she knows how to manipulate it. So she is reaping the benefits of it, and will probably reap the benefits of it as long as she gets 7.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting too to see how that outspokenness for her character translates within the show, because we know with social media nowadays, you know, you have celebrities who are very outspoken about certain things, and we know that can pretty much either make your presence or it can kill your presence. You know, cancel culture is a big thing in our society, where if someone says something that you don't necessarily agree with, like, you can lose fans, you can lose sponsorships, you can lose all kinds of things. You know, we've seen a lot, especially in the last few months, with various celebrities. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that works within the show, like how they present that, with her being so outspoken, with her, I mean, she's basically getting to the point where she's talking against everything that her employer, the person who is actually giving her these opportunities, you know, she's basically like about to buck the system, even with just what she says with Starlight, just basically, hey, you know, everybody here is so, you know, is so handled, so managed, you know, nobody's around, speak your mind. And it's like Starlight is still kind of hesitant, you know, to the point where Stormfront like thinks that she's a spy. She thinks she's a corporate spy, just trying to see whether or not she's a team player or not. So that's going to be interesting to see how that progresses with her and where it goes from there. But she's a very interesting character. It's kind of like you want to like her, and at the same time you don't want to like her. And I think it's because she's different from what we've seen. It's like everybody else in the Seven, the way that they were, like, we were introduced to them already as a group, already as an established entity. And everyone has pretty much been towing the line with their behavior as part of that Seven. So now here she comes. She's a breath of fresh air, but she's also the rebel, obviously. And I don't think that's going to sit well with Homelander. He kind of likes to have things under a certain amount of control, and she does not seem like she's going to play well in that group. So
yeah, I think that since Homelander was basically bred to lead, I think that's the thing that, you know, if he feels someone's threatening it, then there's no telling what he'll do to kind of put everything back in the order that he believes that it's supposed to be in. I mean, you saw that he didn't like how he was being talked to by Edgar, so he took off and went over to see his son, which is a whole other thing that happened.
Other thing, yeah. That whole
that whole dynamic is interesting. But yeah, I mean, you see how it's like Homelander really doesn't know. He's never really had anybody who really stepped up to him like Stormfront is. Like, no one else really wants his job, and he's kind of gotten complacent, being like, "Okay, I'm the leader, I'm the strongest, so y'all just do what I say, and then we'll go from there." But there's someone who does kind of the same thing, and he's like, "Wait, there's only room for one of us here, so something's got to give." But I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how to present, or I don't know how to say what's going. I don't know how to figure out what's going on and fix it. So that should be an interesting dynamic moving forward still.
Yeah. So since you mentioned his son, going into the whole situation with Becca, of course we find out that she's alive and she had a son that was the result of this encounter, this rape that occurred with Homelander about 8-9 years ago. And so we learned a little bit more about her situation. So it looks like Vought is the one who is basically, I guess they hid her from Homelander and also from Butcher, but they basically hid her and her son for protection, but maybe also for control. And you know, we see that she's a bit frantic because now Homelander has literally kind of insinuated himself into her life, into her son's life, and we find out that she's pretty much been raising her son Ryan with no powers. Like, Ryan doesn't know anything about his powers. She's been trying to raise him as a normal kid, I guess, in one way to keep him out of the whole super business, but also maybe to keep him off of Homelander's radar too. But we see that dynamic is not working well, because now that Homelander knows that his son exists, you know, he's starting to kind of also, you know, insinuate control in that situation. And Becca tries to get Vought to step in, and they're like, "No, there's nothing we can do. We can't help you. He already knows. We can't, you know, what is it? We can't squeeze the toothpaste back into the tube. It's just..."
You can't put it back into the tube.
Right. Yeah. But it's like, now we know that Billy knows that she's alive. He doesn't know where she is, but he knows that she's alive. He knows that she has a son, and, you know, Butcher is on his end trying to deal with that, trying to figure out how to get back to her, trying to figure out how to rescue her. But I will say, the first time I watched this episode, I was kind of disturbed by the dynamic with Homelander and Becca, because I felt like, as someone who is raising a child that was the product of rape, and then all of a sudden this person who was your rapist kind of shows up at your doorstep. I felt like she wasn't, I don't know, I guess I felt like she wasn't angry enough. But then looking back at this episode, I see that for the most part, her emotion is fear, because you have this person who is pretty much a psychopath, and someone that she knows. It's kind of like, I
understand what you're saying, but if you think about it, everyone kind of tiptoes around Homelander.
Right.
Because he literally can destroy you with a glance.
Right.
So, from my understanding, it seems like when the rape happened, it wasn't as if he forced himself on her. She just felt like she had no choice.
Right.
Like, if she didn't comply, he would have killed her.
Yeah.
And that sort of in relation to Queen Maeve, she is trying to keep her relationship a secret from Homelander because she's afraid he's going to destroy them.
Right.
So it's not like she can't be upset. She's very upset. Mm-hmm. You can clearly tell, because when she went to Vought, it was like, you promised me that he would never find out. You promised me. No, well, they're like, well, yeah, we did, but he knows now. There's nothing we can do about it.
Right,
because
which I think
Homelander.
is so... I think that's so weird, too, because of the fact that they're the head company. They're the ones that are supposed to be in control. So I think it kind of... It shows that, even though they're the ones that are, kind of holding the purse strings, they really aren't the ones that are in control.
Well, if you're them and you step back and you look at the big picture, and I mean, the worst that can happen is Homelander gets mad and he kills her and takes the boy for himself. But Homelander's going to do what Homelander does. You don't want to rile him up. You can't go tell him, no, you can't go see your son because he says you can't. No, that's not going to work with Homelander. They know him enough to know what their limits are. Mr. Edgar knows what his limit is in pushing Homelander and drawing a line for Homelander. See, if he finds out, they're like, okay, he knows. We're not going to get involved, because the grand scheme of things, it's better to keep him happy than to make him upset. And Becca knows that too. That's why she's going along with it. Because she can't show him that she's upset. She can't show him that she's mad, because he's a child. He's going to get upset and kill them. So, it's strange. It's a weird dynamic, but that's the reality they live in. Mm-hmm. Everybody has to watch themselves around Homelander, because he literally does not have a weakness. I mean, he's Superman with no weakness. And that's a scary thought.
Yeah, and he's just... And his mind state is just it's so unpredictable that like you said, everybody tiptoes around it, because you don't want to be the one that says something that sets them off. Because you saw in the first episode when the assistant brought the blind sleeper to him and saying that she found another member of the Seven. Yeah. And he was nice and calm at first. He was like, "Oh wow, I've heard about you. Oh yeah, that's pretty amazing. What happens when I do this?" And deafens him, and then he turns into another person like that, like instantly on a dime. His whole demeanor changed.
But I mean, it didn't, for me. It didn't change, because the moment that she said that that they had someone else, it's kind of like he turned around with this fake like, "Oh really?" And I was like, "Oh, this is not going to work out well for anyone," just because of the way it's kind of like. He was being nice about it, but something about his facial expression and something about his body language, to me, it was a bit maniacal. It was kind of like, oh, this is not going to work as well as she thinks. And she's just oblivious, and it's kind of sort of a little bit the same with him coming into this child's life. It's like we see him playing ball with this kid, with his kid, and he's telling this kid these stories about his dad and blah, blah, blah. And it's almost like he's trying to be genuine with the child, but you can also see that you can feel the fakeness coming from him. But yet, I think at the same time, I think he's genuine in trying to get to know his son, but at the same time,
I think he's being genuine. And
he's being genuine, but at the same time, it's still kind of forced. You know, when he told his son, when he told Ryan good night that night, and he says, "I love you, son," and he was like, "You can say it back to me. It's okay." And it's kind of like, why would you, you know?
But he has no frame of
Right,
reference.
and that's the thing.
So this is what he thinks it should be. This is how he thinks. In his mind, he has all these schemas of how a relationship between a father and son should be.
Right.
So it comes off as fake because he's trying. He doesn't know what is the right thing to do or what the right thing to say. He just has an idea of how it's supposed to be. Like, we should be throwing a ball to each other. You should be teaching him these lessons. He should say, "I love you," and he should say, "I love you back." These are all things that he thinks the way it should be. So it does seem fake, but like you said, he's trying.
It just seems weird to me because
he has no frame of reference for how it should be, and it doesn't come off as natural because he's a sociopath.
Yeah,
he doesn't really have feelings,
right?
Other than, you know.
And that's the thing I have to remember, because my thing is any quote unquote normal person would know that, you know, that's not a relationship you can force. Like, you've literally met this child one other time before. So to expect that kind of connection and emotion from him on the second night is very unnatural, which, you know, it does come off unnatural. But again, like you said, that's the point of reference he has. Like, he wasn't raised as a child with emotions. He wasn't raised with love, but it's just the whole thing makes it really, really uncomfortable to watch. And then, you know, rewatching the episode for a second time, I completely forgot that I don't know whether or not it was something that he heard himself or whether Dr. Park told him, but when he was in Becca's house, when she was going to try to get them to, you know, move her or whatever, you know, Dr. Park made a reference that, you know, well, you know, maybe he'll get bored. And she said he's not going to get bored. And he comes back to her and says, "Yeah, you're right. I'm not going to get bored. I'm not going anywhere." So it's like, just to kind of see that stretch that he has, or that reach that he has, that even her so-called private conversations with the people who are supposed to be protecting her aren't as private as she thought. You know, it's just kind of like I said, at first when I watched the episode, I was kind of like, she should be more mad. She should be more forceful. And then to kind of see it again and see that, okay, even the people who are protecting her can't do that. It's kind of like, it puts a whole different spin on her behavior, because we see that she does try to stand up to him. You know, she tells him to get out of her house, and then it just kind of turns, and, you know, it doesn't work out the way she wants, and now we see that she's a little more scared. And it's just, I don't know, that whole just dynamic is just so weird. He's one of those characters, like, I know what his character is supposed to be, I know what his character is supposed to represent, but it's still so weird watching him, because he's such a psychopath, and he's such an emotionalist person. And then again,
he's also a child.
Yes, that too, because then you turn around and think, like, his scenes with Madeline, you know, we talked about it in the last episode, like, he was very attached to her and she was very motherly to him. So we get to see a little bit of emotion, you know, when he thinks of her, when he talks about her. Like, even when someone mentions her, you can kind of see a little tick in his face, like, you know, like that emotion trying to break through. So it's Anthony Starr is a really good actor to put all of that into this character, but it's just so weird to watch.
Yeah, and like, going back to like the bed scene, it's like it almost seemed like he was reading from a script that he was expecting everyone else to read from. It's like, he said, "I love you," and he said, "Now you say I love you too." It's like he was giving him his lines. He was like, "Okay, you have to say this because this is how it needs to go." It's just like, I mean, it's almost like when you watch movies that have serial killers in them, like when towards the end towards the climax of the movie, when you see one of the main characters get kidnapped by the serial killer, and he's talking to and the serial killer is talking to his victim. It's almost to me, it's almost kind of like that.
It's very predatory.
Right, where he's like, okay, now this is what you need to do, and the way he talks is just, it's not even really measured. It's more that he's trying to get you to see that you need to do what I need you to do, or things aren't going to go well for you.
And then he turns around and says something like, "Would you like some Jiffy Pop?" It's just so weird.
Right. Yeah.
It's so weird that he can, like, it's like he flips a switch, like literally flips a switch mid-sentence, and he goes from this really arrogant, narcissistic, threatening, predatory person, and then in the same breath he turns on this little wannabe domestic voice, and it's just that makes his character so scary, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like you don't know what to expect from him, you know. Even though we've kind of sort of got him figured out as far as what he is and how he reacts to people, it's like he always does something to kind of throw that perception off and make it worse.
Right.
I think, you know, that's how it is for me, at least. It's just, I don't know, he's a very weird character to watch.
Yeah.
It's very
complex. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable, but at the same time it's also kind of intriguing, because it's like, okay, what else is this character going to do? Like, how far is he going to push the envelope? Like, what can he do next that's going to be worse than what we've seen so far? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's those people that I thought we haven't even gotten to what's her name and her brother.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking next, you know, because we get Billy, we see that Bill, you know, at the end of the at the beginning of the episode, you know, Billy wakes up in a parking lot. We know I'm guessing obviously Homelander dumped him there rather than kill him. You know, I guess, you know, like he said, to kind of make him you know, make him feel bad. You know, yeah, this is what happened. Yeah, I raped your wife, and not only that, now she has my child. She's been alive this whole time while you've been trying to kill me for her death, and, you know, the joke's on you or whatever. And it's kind of like it I don't know, it kind of lights an additional fire under Butcher's ass. It's like he was already very headstrong. He was already very focused. He was already very one-track mind about this whole thing with Becca. And now that he knows that he's alive and there's another dynamic to it, it's almost like he's more dangerous now.
Yeah, it's like we mentioned in the last episode, his motivation has changed from revenge to I gotta find it now. There's hope.
Right.
You know? And we learn in other media and literature that hope is like the most dangerous thing to give a person.
Right.
When they have hope, they tend to find ways to do things they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
Right.
And you just keep going and going because you're like, okay, there's a possibility. I mean, hope is all about a possibility. So it's like you think there's the possibility of something happening. You're going to keep going no matter what happens. You're just gonna keep trying and trying, because if you see a glimmer, like if you're looking at something and you're trying to achieve it, but you're like, there's no hope for it. But if something happens that you're like, oh wait, like out of the ordinary, something happens out of the ordinary, you're like, wait, okay, that I can do it now because of that little thing. It could be one little thing, and then you just go straight at it, and it can be a good or a bad, it's a blessing or a curse, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think one thing we see in this episode too is kind of like, as far as like when we first introduced to the boys in season 1, we already know that, like you said, Aunt, revenge is basically his motivation. And, you know, we talked a little bit in the last episode about the leadership, the way that he leads the team as opposed to the way Hughie is trying to lead the team. And one thing I noticed in this episode, it's like Butcher comes back and he automatically like takes the leadership mantle. He basically starts telling the team again what to do, what they need to do, but he never really explains to them what's going on. It's just like he expects this blind loyalty no matter what it costs the members of the other team. It's like, MM has lost his family, Hughie has lost his, and, it's like basically he's absorbed everyone into this cause that's selfishly only his. And even in this episode, when he comes back, once he starts, taking charge and giving them different things to do, and he's setting them on this goal, like he's trying to find this soup terrorist, which we find out is Kimiko's brother. But it's basically like, okay, we're going after him, I'm not telling you guys why. Like, he doesn't give the team any kind of he doesn't throw them a bone of any kind. It's just like, okay, I'm telling you guys that this is what we're supposed to do, and even once he finds out that Kenji is Kimiko's brother, he's still like, okay, I don't care about that. I'm still gonna, turn him in. And it kind of causes a little bit of friction within the team, because Frenchie and MM are both looking at him like, dude, what's going on? Like, it's not until that point when they refuse to follow him that he decides to tell them, oh yeah, Becca's alive, and oh yeah, she has a kid, and oh yeah, Vought has been hiding her. I know I have no right to ask you guys for anything. You guys, should tell me to fuck off, but I'm asking you to help anyway. And it's kind of like, what?
Why didn't you lead with that?
Right.
Exactly.
It's like Butcher is one of those characters that kind of acts first and thinks later. And it's like, we know how his mind works, and that in his mind it makes sense, but he's not sharing it with the rest of the team. So it's kind of like, how do you expect them not to, follow, or how do you expect them to follow you blindly through everything? Like, you just tried to kill this guy that we told you, hey, he's I guess not necessarily part of the family, but as Mother's Milk says, Kimiko is part of this team, which means that her brother should also be part of this team. I mean, when they first found her, she was a soup terrorist, and, they kind of took her in. They protected her once they realized what had been done to her. I would just think, and maybe it's just me and my bleeding heart, I would just think that, oh, well, if this happened to her, it probably happened to him too. Maybe we should try to help him. But instead, Butcher is just like, nope, this is how I'm getting my wife back. I don't care about anything else, and you guys shouldn't care either, because this is like he's making his primary focus about saving Becca. He's putting that on the rest of the team. Without,
he's as super as you can get. So he doesn't consider her part of the team because she's a super. He would just as rather kill her than anything. She's a tool to him. She doesn't mean anything to him. And now you put in there that the goal is for him to get Becca, then she definitely doesn't mean anything, and neither would her brother.
Yep, he's trying to get his life back by any means necessary. He doesn't care who falls in the process.
Yeah, but see, that attitude is part of the problem, because it's like you've got people on your team who have been loyal to you and who have lost because of your focus on finding your wife. It's like your wife is this all-important thing, but you're not thinking about MM's wife or MM's child. And that's an aspect of his character that really bothers me, because it's like, I understand this is what your team was meant to do, but the fact that everybody else has lost something in your pursuit, and you're still like, yeah, you guys should write me off, but I really need you guys to help me. It's like, at least if you're going to expect that, give a little. Like you said, and lead with the fact that Becca was still alive. That's something he should have told them as soon as he came back. And then maybe things would have worked out differently for that episode, as far as what they've had to do, and Raynor being killed and all this other stuff, instead of blaming Hughie or blaming the team for not doing what they're supposed to do in his absence, be a little bit more of a leader. That's what they look to you for. So I
think he doesn't want. He made the calculation that their morals get in the way of his goals. So if he shows that he has feelings or shows that his goal is selfish, then they're going to question everything that he does. And I think, and this is an assumption I'm making on the part of his character, that he doesn't want their morals to get in the way of what he wants to do.
Yeah, plus I think that he's also preparing himself because he doesn't think that his enemies, the Supes, really have morals. So if he has morals, they're going to get in the way of him getting his ultimate goal and destroying Supes. Like he can't. He's thinking, I can't go into a fight with the Supes with morals, because if I go in there with morals and they don't have any, as far as I'm concerned, then I'm gonna die. I'm gonna lose. And my team's gonna lose. So I can't let that get in the way of my team in eventually succeeding. So I mean, that's his leadership type, and is a douchebag type, yeah. But I mean, for him, as far as he's concerned, that's the only way that he's ever gonna get revenge. That's the only way he's ever gonna, is that everything that they're trying to do is gonna succeed. The only way they're gonna succeed is if they're as at least close to the level of ruthlessness as the Supes. I mean, that's the only way that he sees that they're going to succeed.
Yeah, and as far as he's concerned, Frenchie and Hughie are both compromised because they have feelings for supers. And in Mother's Milk, he just relies on him because he's always been loyal to him.
Right.
He can always rely on him. So if he turns around and says, he comes in, oh yeah, Becca's alive, and she has a kid, then ask him about his feelings. He was gonna get him all up in his feelings. He can't have that. He has to separate that. I know it sucks.
It's such a caveman response.
But it's the truth. I mean, he's not Rick Grimes. He's not going to get all caught up in his feelings, Hanako.
But that also makes Rick Grimes effective. No. Totally different show, totally different circumstances.
You had to bring that up.
We'll talk about Rick Grimes on another episode because there's a lot going on in that. But yeah, so I like I said, I understand that. And then also, I'm also speaking, just up until the second episode, because obviously I've watched the next few episodes, so I kind of know where everything is going. But it's kind of like, at this moment, I'm just like, just tell them what's going on. That way you guys can properly plan and actually have some success for once. And maybe Hughie won't have to take a huge right hook to the face and end up with blood again, as usual. I mean, just... Right. And I mean, especially with Hughie, like MM and Frenchie are used to the way that Butcher does things. Hughie is still not. He's still going to question it. But here's the thing, too. Butcher was the one who brought Hughie into this. So I feel like you were the one who kind of forced him into this life and forced him into this crusade. The least you can do is at least give him a reason to still be there. Give him a reason to still be loyal. Because at this point, like he says, you left us for dead. You made us think that you were gone. You didn't give a damn about us. So why should we give a damn about you? And I understand where Hughie's coming from on that. Because again, he was pulled into all of this. And it would have been nice to know, hey, you know what? Even though I told you my wife was dead, I just found out, and this is what happened. Because then Hughie could have been like, oh, so they, kidnapped her, or they're forcing her, to live this life away. And, it could have just gone a different way, and it could have been a lot less sloppy. It could have probably been more effective, if they just communicated a little bit better. I just need Butcher to communicate a little bit better.
Well, if you remember, Hughie was initially Hughie was bait for Butcher. He was bait. Wasn't recruiting him for the team.
You're right.
Using him as
You're
bait
very right. Yes.
and as a Trojan horse to get something done.
But he's part of the team now, damn it. Show him some respect.
I don't know. I don't think Butcher really thought of it that way until he pulled the trigger on Translucent.
Right. But see, that should have.
Like, okay,
yeah.
I can work with this guy.
Right.
Maybe I can work with him.
I mean, Hughie has shown that he's a team player. When and Frenchie had been kidnapped, Hughie was the one who went to go rescue them, not Butcher. Hughie.
Yeah.
He's a team player. Treat him like a team player. That's all I'm asking.
No, Hughie did it because it was the right thing to do. Butcher doesn't operate like that.
Yeah, there go those feelings again.
Those feelings get in the way. It's like Butcher does not like the fact that he has a relationship with Starlight. You know,
well, I don't think any of them like that, which I can, I mean, and I can understand that. But
yeah, you can understand, yeah.
Yeah,
but,
I can.
You know.
So, but that's going to get interesting too. So, yeah.
His feelings.
Yes.
Just get in the way.
Well, but I mean, if it wasn't for his feelings, he wouldn't have been in this in the first place, you know? So, I mean,
right.
he initially got into this because he wanted to bring A-Train down, and now I don't even know. I don't think he knows that A-Train has made his little resurrection at this point. So that's going to be interesting, you know, to see how that.
Well, oh yeah, because they don't watch regular TV, so they would have seen the interviews with A-Train.
Right. Right. Did we cover everything? Is there anything else we need to cover?
Maeve and Elena.
Oh yeah, that.
I
think that's this episode. But yeah, I mean, she's so afraid that. I mean, she's so afraid that Homelander's going to wreck everything. That is, I don't think that's some deep love that those two have, because she's willing to go through all the hiding and eating in and all this other stuff to still have like feelings for her and not like shun her immediately when she sees her. I mean, it's a complicated relationship, and it's another thing that this show draws parallels to, like in life, because I mean, it's really hard for someone to come out of the closet when they're in the closet, and to hide it from people you work with who you know won't be as, oh, well, who cares? Come on in, let's meet her. You know what I'm saying? It's like Homelander really doesn't seem like that kind of person, and I can't wait to get to the other episodes. But
yeah,
it's just hard. It's hard to see them struggle with trying to have a relationship but keep it under wraps.
Well, the one thing I would be worried about is we know that Homelander doesn't like being lied to.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah.
You know, and how is he going to react if he finds out the truth about her? You know, and on the flip side, I want to ask about Maeve, Queen Maeve as a character. Has she been corrupted? Have we seen any signs of her?
I don't think we have. I think the only thing that came close to it was when they were on the plane and he basically threatened her because she tried to stand up to him to save the people on the plane, and he basically threatened her. And she made mention of it in the hospital room when she was talking to Elena, when she came clean about Homelander possibly killing someone who showed her just a little bit of interest. And she talks about the things I've seen him do, the things he's forced me to do. So we don't know a lot about it. Just from what I've seen so far, she seems to be, we talked about how the characters all have a little bit of, corruption, going from Homelander being the most corrupt. I think she's probably on the spectrum, on the opposite side of the spectrum. I don't think that she has that in her, as far as the corruption or the greed or anything else that drives any of the seven. I think probably of the seven, she probably has the purest heart because, you know, she has something, I guess, that she holds dear, that, you know, that she cares about. But I don't know. I mean, if it got to the point where she felt like she had to completely cut this person that she loves out of her life just to save her because of what Homelander would do, I don't know what Homelander has had her do. You know, I mean, the plane was pretty bad, but it's possible, knowing him, he's probably made her do worse. So, but I don't think
knowing how people,
I don't think at her heart is
tiptoe around him.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's gonna go along with it because he could destroy her with a glance.
Right.
No,
so. Not just her. Because she doesn't seem to me like the type of person where if he threatened her outright, where she would be the type to be like, oh, let me save my own skin. I think her motivation is, and always has been, Elena. So, you know, whatever she had to do to keep that person safe, I think she would have gone along with it. And, you know, again, that doesn't, to me, make her a bad person. I think she's just caught in an impossible situation. You know, of course, you know, I'm sure if she really thought she was bothered, you know, a regular person would probably quit. But I don't think she doesn't seem like, it doesn't seem like the seven is one of those types of situations where if you're tired of it, you just let it go. I think it's one of those where you either pushed out like the Deep was, or Homelander gets rid of you. I really think that's just kind of where it is at this point. So she's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because she doesn't have any, there's no easy way out for her in that situation. So I think she's just kind of stuck.
Yeah, she's stuck like that. I mean, there's really nothing. I mean, that's the whole thing about Homelander's leadership dynamic. It's like nobody wants to cross him because they know that, you know, if he gets mad enough, then he could literally tear a hole through you. And I mean, most people are scared of that, so they just kind of fall in line, being like, yeah, whatever you say.
Right.
But they're still really afraid of him becoming unhinged.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hope at some point she is able to stand up to him. Just because I want to see what that would look like. Because I think, you know, we know about Maeve's strength, but I don't think she's also one of those characters that we don't know a lot of yet. And I think just given what we've seen in the first 2 episodes so far, we may be learning more about her this season, but it's just one of those, I think we're starting to see a little bit more individuality as far as the members of the Seven and how their interactions with Homelander will kind of affect future episodes and where this season is going. Because like we said, it's obvious the team is falling apart. There's cracks that's starting to appear, and we see that things are not as hunky-dory as, you know, they present to everyone else. So that you know, that fracture with the addition of Stormfront and her outspokenness, it's going to make for a pretty interesting dynamic with the group.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I really want to see what's going to happen with this Stormfront chick. She's so mouthy and she's so rebellious, and it's kind of like you want to like her, and at the same time you don't want to like her, but you want to like her because you know she's about to stir some stuff up.
Yeah, you're waiting on that reason not to like her, and I think we'll get into that in the next episode.
yeah, I think so.
I just want to see her and Maeve go at it. I want to see.
That would be so good.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see those two.
That would be so good. But
or even her and Starlight, because I don't know.
I think she'd ragdoll Starlight. I mean, it's like Starlight would probably have to surprise her to get the upper hand initially, but it's like Stormfront. I just think she has such anger. Not anger. That's the wrong word. She has such an attitude that, I mean, she's kind of like a female version of Homelander. So it's like,
she is.
First comes from her attitude. So if someone tries to hurt her, she's probably like, seriously, and then proceed to literally take them limb from limb. So I just don't see. I don't see Starlight really having a chance with.
I don't know.
You know,
because the thing with the two is Stormfront is very. She's very in your face. She's very. You kind of see what you're getting with her from jump. Like there's nothing about her personality that she's hiding. We already know Starlight has I guess you could say she has kind of a gift for lying or for getting herself out of situations that she's found herself in. And I think she appears to me to be one of those people that we should just not underestimate. Like, I think she is the way she is because of the way she was brought up. You know, she did have a mom who loved her, who doted on her. She was raised in this Christian background, so she has these values that she's brought to the team, and she's trying to hold on to those values. And I think that's what makes her the way she is right now with the team, as far as she's kind of, I don't want to say a pacifist, but it's kind of like she says what she needs to say, but she sits back and she watches, and we see that she operates behind the scenes. But I have a feeling if someone were to properly piss her off, I think she could probably take Stormfront.
Yeah, and Stormfront said, "What are you worried about? You are literally bulletproof."
Right.
That's what she said to Starlight. You are literally bulletproof. Right. What are you worried about?
Right. So I wouldn't underestimate her. So I think she could probably be one of the strongest out of the 7. If it's kind of like one of those things where, you know, the good in someone keeps them from doing really horrible things. But if that veil ever dropped for her, or if she ever got to the point where she just lost her emotions, lost her morals, like, I think she could probably take them all on.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
You know, it's always the quiet and unassuming ones that you really have to worry about.
Always.
I mean, so she just, I would bet on her in a fight between her and Stormfront. I would bet on her. Yeah. Yep. Any final thoughts?
I keep wondering about Kamiko. Like, I think that, like, you know, if you have to be reminded about her power, like when she saw when they went to go get her brother, like the guy was, when she literally ripped the guy's head off.
Yes.
Like, you can't, like, holy shit. Like, you still have to remember, like, oh yeah, she's really a badass, and is really kind of a ticking time bomb. Like, you really, like, you kind of have to kind of wonder, like, if something happens, like, you know, I mean, because it's her brother. It's like, what if, like, in this episode, you can see, like, how much she really loves her brother, and, like, what happens, like, if she, like she cares, and, like, you have to wonder if someone she cares about is lost or something happens to him, like, what would the boys be able to do? Like, would they have, like, how would they handle her just doing whatever the hell she wants to?
Sounds like a question we'll be able to answer a few episodes from now.
Hey, I am merely speaking about this episode that we just watched. I'm not speaking of any other episodes that I might or might not have watched today.
Yeah.
But yeah, but she is. I mean, she's just. You kind of have to keep in mind how much of a badass she is, because it's like, you know, her being a loose cannon is like way more destructive. It's almost like she could do a lot of damage on par with what Homelander could do, in my opinion. Like if she just lost if all morals are off and she's just like screw everybody, she could do a lot of bad things.
But I think her power is probably a little bit scarier because Homelander, yes, he has these powers. He could probably, burn a person. He basically burned Madeline's eyeballs out or whatever. But like Kimiko's, her power is purely physical. Like she has to get her hands dirty. And the fact that, she just took that dude's head just clean off, no effort. It's kind of like, what?
Yeah, like a mayonnaise jar. Like, yo, damn.
Oh, that's a horrible visual. Oh, gross.
I'm literally surprised that Hughie wasn't in there and didn't get blood splattered.
Well, because he got the blood splatter like the next scene when Butcher knocked his, punched his face out. Yeah, he had the blood then. So, I think he met his quota for the episode.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like the level that they let Kimiko let loose, because she's a problem if she like fully lets loose and just like goes berserk.
Didn't she fight Black Noir in season 1?
Did she?
I think she did.
I don't remember.
Maybe.
Then he kind of.
He only appeared like two or three times in season 1.
Yeah, I think one of the scenes is when they fought. If I remember, I have to go watch.
Yeah, now I
have
gotta
to go look for it now. I got to go look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the elevator scene between Starlight and Queen Maeve, because I think Queen Maeve said something to Starlight about some stuff. I need to see that. Because they were on the elevator after the deep stuff.
Yes.
And he said something, and I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
He said to her about, hopefully you won't be like me or something, or I was like you once.
Right.
I have to see it. I have to watch it. This is all making me want to go back and watch.
And watch the first season. Maybe we should do that. Hey.
And get familiar with it again. Yeah.
Right. That sounds good. Okay. Well, if nobody has anything, I guess we'll cut it here. We do have some other episodes to discuss, so we're going to save some of that for that. That's it for our show. If you have any questions or comments, you can find us at fandomhybrid.com, or you can find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys later.